Hello, friends. I hope you are having a wonderful Sunday, and I hope that you just are enjoying each other's company as family, as friends, and just having a great day today. The book that I've been reading out of when I've been doing the stories has been called The Tall Book of Christmas. This is a book that my dad used to have when he was much younger. And today I'm going to be reading what he says was one of his favorite stories when he was a kid. This story is called Giant Grummers Christmas. And it seems like this is almost an early version of The Grinch. You decide for yourself, but I had a lot of fun reading this, and I hope that you enjoy listening to it. Thank you. Giant Grummers Christmas by William Dana Street. Giant Grummer was a very bad giant. He never kept Christmas. Sometimes, on Christmas Day, he would sit all day in his huge castle, eating pickles and drinking vinegar. Christmas was a very sour day for Giant Grummer. Just to think of so many people being happy gave him a headache. He was a very bad giant. Giant Grummer lived in a castle all made of Limburger cheese. Now, Limburger cheese smells the strongest of all the cheeses. No one in the village could come within a mile of the castle without being overcome. But Giant Grummer loved Limburger cheese. He loved it so much that he kept eating away great chunks of the castle towers and walls. One Christmas, Giant Grummer was worse than he had ever been before. He said that he was going to the village on Christmas Eve after Santa Claus had been there and reached his long arm down every chimney. He said he was going to grab all the stockings around the fireplaces with all the presents in them. Then he was going to carry them over to his castle, spread them out on the floor, and stamp on them until they were all broken to pieces. The villagers were terribly worried when they heard this. But what should they do? Now there was a prince in the village, and his name was Topsy-Turvy. He was only a little boy, but he was not at all afraid of the giant, nor of his castle all made of Limburger cheese. For Topsy had found out that if he turned his nose upside down, everything smelt just the opposite from what it usually did. Cologne smelt like castor oil, and Limburger cheese smelt like cookies and gingerbread. When Topsy heard that Giant Grummer was planning to steal all of the children's Christmas presents, he went right to the telephone and called up Santa Claus. They had a long talk together and made a wonderful plan. Now, Giant Grummer had never hung up his stockings at Christmas, not even when he was a little boy. His mother had told him that she didn't believe in Santa Claus. But the fact was that Santa Claus knew that the smell of Limburger Castle would make his reindeer deathly sick, so he never tried to go there. First of all, then, Giant Grummer received a very nice letter from Santa Claus. It said, "Dear Giant Grummer, why don't you hang up your stockings on Christmas Eve? I have some very nice presents which I would like to put into it. This would be much more fun than stealing the children's presents. Your good friend, Santa Claus." "Ho, ho!" said Giant Grummer. "Ho, ho! I'll fool old Santa Claus. I'll hang up my biggest stocking, and I'll watch him fill it. Then I'll dump the presents all on the floor. And I'll still have time to go over to the village and snatch all the children's presents." And he rubbed his hands and stamped his feet. Giant Grummer was a very bad giant. So on Christmas Eve, Giant Grummer came into the big living room of the castle and hung up his great big stocking in front of the fireplace. Then he went to bed and lay very still. He tried to stay awake and watch for Santa Claus, but the first thing you know, he was fast asleep and never saw Santa Claus at all. At midnight, Prince Topsy-Turvy met Santa Claus in the village. "But how shall we ever dare to drive to Limburger Castle?" asked Santa Claus. "I'll show you," Topsy answered. Then he turned Santa's nose upside down, and they both turned around the noses of the 8 reindeer. Topsy jumped into the sleigh with Santa Claus, and they started for the castle of Giant Grummer. Faster and faster they went, for now Limburger Castle smelt like cookies and gingerbread, and all the reindeer were very fond of cookies and gingerbread. On they went, right up onto the roof of the castle. Down the chimney went Santa Claus. When Santa Claus saw the huge stocking, he drew a long breath, but at once he began to fill it. First he put in a great automobile, then he put in a big tin horn, and then a whole lot of candy and cookies and gingerbread. Then last of all, Santa Claus pulled out of his pack a great many round cheeses. They were the very oldest and strongest smelling Limburger cheese. They were just awful. Santa Claus put these big cheeses on top of the stocking, then he went up the chimney and drove away. Soon it was morning. Before daylight, Giant Grummer came trooping into the room to look at his stocking. As soon as Giant Grummer found the big cheeses, he did not look for anything else. He sat down on the floor and began to eat them. He ate up 2 whole cheeses, but when he tried to eat the third, he could not go on. He was just too full. His eyes began to close, and soon he was fast asleep. Giant Grummer slept all through Christmas morning, and Christmas afternoon, and Christmas evening. And that is the reason why Giant Grummer was good all day Christmas. He was asleep. I hope that you all enjoyed that story, and if you took a nap after eating a couple Limburger cheeses, if you enjoy that cheese, hey, that's fine. Whatever you like to eat is whatever you like to eat. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed that story and that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you and good night.